So I'm going to go into reviewing the new movie. I'm going to go into reviewing the new movie 9/11. This is the Charlie Sheen drama that caused a slew of controversy, and I wish I could report back that it kind of deserved it. This is a movie that really, a lot of people criticized this movie, and they were saying that it was a movie that was, it was offensive. It was a movie that was, being either patronizing or sort of tackling 9/11 in a very commercial sense that was very disrespectful. I don't really believe any of that to be true. It is opinion. I don't believe any of that. And I don't think this movie is too offensive, really. And I don't have anybody that was tragically lost or killed during the September 11th attacks. But at the same time, I think this movie, by remaining apolitical, by remaining nonpartisan, that this movie really kind of focuses on the human core. Is it a good movie? I'm going to flat out say no. This is not a good movie. I do not really recommend it. I'll explain why in a moment. But I do not think that it really deserves the kind of backlash that it gets. I really don't. I think it's kind of overblown. I think there are some good things about it. For one, it is based off of a short play. It is based off of a play by a man named Patrick Carson. The play premiered in Tucson, Arizona. It would have just been called Elevator. The movie would have had less controversy, in my opinion. It would have just been called Elevator. It would have just been called Elevator, not 9/11. Then you wouldn't have had a lot of reactionary think pieces and stuff. You wouldn't have had that. The film stars Charlie Sheen in his first movie role since 2013 with Machete Kills, Gina and Whoopi Goldberg, Luis Guzman, Wood Harris, Olga Fonda, and Whoopi Goldberg. This is Whoopi Goldberg's first movie in a while. I miss Whoopi Goldberg. She's doing a lot on The View. She's obviously a big host on that show. I kind of wish she did more movies. You could tell with this movie, though, they shot a lot of her scenes quickly because she has to get back to The View and stuff like that. So she's not really in it too. Elevator operator, she's only in a few minutes of the movie, so she's not really in it too much, and a lot of times she's just kind of a disembodied voice in the elevator. The film revolves around 5 strangers, played by Sheen, Gershon, Guzman, Harris, and Fonda, that get trapped in an elevator in the North Tower of the World Trade Center during billionaire Gina Gershon. They're trapped in this elevator. Charlie Sheen plays a billionaire. Gina Gershon plays his wife. They're in the middle of a divorce. Luis Guzman plays Eddie. He plays a janitor, a custodial engineer, as he likes to be called. Wood Harris plays Michael, a bike messenger, and Olga Fonda plays Tina. Dynamic, the most woman. So this is kind of an odd dynamic. I would say about 70% of this movie takes place in this elevator, which is immediately frustrating to me. We cut back too much to the outside world. We cut back too much to scenes that we don't really need, in my opinion. We don't need to see images of the World Trade Center burning. We don't need to see images of the towers crumbling down. These are images that are firmly branded in many of our retinas. We don't need to see that a lot. We can get the gravity and the immensity of this situation just by the name 9/11. We don't need a lot of that. I wish this movie Shyamalan a few years ago called The Night Chronicles Devil. That movie was about 45% in an elevator, about people that were trapped in an elevator. And an elevator is an incredible space for a movie. It is so claustrophobic. It forces human interest. It forces claustrophobia. It's a very dynamic setting for being very one-dimensional, in my opinion. Now, Charlie Sheen is like Nicolas Cage in this movie. He's woefully miscast. You can't not see him in this movie. He's a little bit out of place, in my opinion, in this one. He's not necessarily a bad actor, but he's not really in this movie, in my opinion, not in it. Gina Gershon's fine. The standout performance is Luis Guzman, in my opinion. I think Guzman's a really talented character actor, in my opinion, kind of like Tony Cox, who you might remember as the elf in Bad Santa. He kind of gets the joke roles, unfortunately, because Luis Guzman's got a real three Puerto Rican accent, whereas Tony Cox is 3 feet tall. They kind of get these joke roles. They're always the butt of the joke. I don't like that. I like Luis Guzman, Whoopi Goldberg, even though the two are never here. He bonds really well with Whoopi Goldberg, even though the two are never in a scene together except for the opening moments of the movie. They're very good together, though, I think, and I think Guzman really nails his role in this movie. I think the big problem with this movie, though, is that it's not confined to the elevator. It doesn't It really loans itself to it. And the other thing I think is really upsetting, because I think that's a great setting, it really loans itself to it. And the other thing I think is that this movie, and I like to mention cinematography, I like to mention photography in movies, I love the way movies look. 9/11 is ugly. 9/11 is an ugly grayscale movie. Alonzo Duralde, a film critic friend of mine and a really film critic that I love, said that the movie looks like a copy of a bootleg DVD that's sold in Times Square. That's what he described it as. The movie is just very ugly, and it does not have good cinematography, in my opinion. It really just kind of looks generic too, which kind of breeds off of it. The movie, again, is offensive, and it's too apolitical, in my opinion, to be offensive, and it's too centered on these 5 characters to be really offensive, in my opinion, as well.